From Wikipedia, the infinite monkey theorem states that a monkey hitting keys at random on a typewriter keyboard for an infinite amount of time will almost surely type any given text, such as the complete works of William Shakespeare. In fact, the monkey would almost surely type every possible finite text an infinite number of times. However, the probability that monkeys filling the entire observable universe would type a single complete work, such as Shakespeare's Hamlet, is so tiny that the chance of it occurring during a period of time hundreds of thousands of orders of magnitude longer than the age of the universe is extremely low, but technically not zero.
This is 1,000 monkeys working at 1,000 typewriters. Soon, they'll have written the greatest novel known to man. Let's see. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times. You stupid monkey! You shut up.
The theorem can be generalized to state that any sequence of events which has a non-zero probability of happening, at least as long as it hasn't occurred, will almost certainly eventually occur. In this context, almost surely is a mathematical type.
Oh, smart. Put enough monkeys in a room with a typewriter, they'll produce Shakespeare.
Let's see, a something by any other name.
Carnation.
In this context, almost surely is a mathematical term, meaning the event happens with probability 1, and the monkey is not an actual monkey, but a metaphor for an abstract device that produces an endless random sequence of letters and symbols. One of the earliest instances of the use of the monkey metaphor is that of French mathematician Émile Borel in 1913, but the first instance may have been even earlier. This theory of the seemingly impossible actually occurring, the confidence by some to call it inevitable even, rests solely upon the introduction of the concept of infinite time, itself a type of fantasy. From this concept, it's imagined that given enough time, the seemingly impossible becomes inevitable. But looking back at real life, works of immensely high intelligence never usually arise from purely random, unintelligent, unguided processes, however. But this strange reasoning is similar to the Darwinian Materialist Ideology, as it relates to our origins. For it has allowed some to believe and preach a theory that everything in existence could, and indeed did, occur as a result of purely impersonal, undirected, random mutations and freak occurrences, haphazardly unfolding on a grand, admittedly mysterious timeline, no matter how unbelievable it may seem to most. Much less than infinite time, vast periods of time humans can barely conceive of, much less accurately measure and confirm to agree upon and prove today, attempt to fill in the gaps of faith and plausibility in the materialist ideology.
Like Copernicus in his time, Darwin changed the game by explaining that diversity came from a biological process without any interference from God. Darwin put human beings in the same evolutionary level as all the creatures on the planet. Scientific advances have confirmed his theory, and even the Catholic Church ended up accepting, decades later, that evolution is compatible with faith. And today, more than 150 years after Darwin's theory became known, we know that evolution is a fact. The planet keeps changing, sometimes dramatically, and we keep changing with it.
Having already dismissed and subtracted the existence of the supernatural or divine through an ingrained bias referred to as philosophical naturalism, working to break free of the chains of organized religion, dogma, religious-inspired monarchies, the modern scientist proceeded on in his pursuits to understand the universe, guided by methodological naturalism.
Are we killer apes at heart? Is this what we will discover about our ancestors at the dawn of humanity?
Many scientists began to work to understand the order of the natural world, exclusively without the need or guidance of the spiritual. Setting aside organized religions, God, and ideas of the divine, to break free of the chains of dogma, many superstitions, and myths, to retake control over society from religious authorities and monarchies in favor of pure truth, freedom, and reason. Methodological naturalism, a type of bias, the intent to discover and explain the world through purely secular, materialist, scientific, impersonal, non-paranormal processes, simple cause and effects. But this insistence unfairly disregarded many possibilities without due course. And being so rigid as to only see, accept, and theorize secular causes, the paranormal possibilities are dismissed, oft without due reason and consideration, prematurely as we will see, right off the bat with prejudice in many instances, no matter how otherwise improbable seem the alternatives. In dismissing all supernatural possibilities, many a scientist may have relinquished the truth in favor of a new fantasy, forever seeking only non-divine causes and explanations to anything in study. They may miss the true reality we live in. Indeed, reality is far stranger than the scientific materialists like to admit, or can adequately explain within their ideology. For to a devout atheist, how else but by random chance could the all have arisen in a godless universe? Incredibly, in the modern age, Darwinian evolution's tenets have increasingly come to be put forth as fact. In an age where the truths revealed after Darwin's time can actually be seen to oppose his theories in many regards. As we'll see, the man himself understood his theory's shortcomings and challenges, ones his adherents would later largely ignore, distort, and suppress. For Darwin and his theory were formulated in a time when we were still incredibly ignorant to many profound truths about our universe, which likely would have created much more doubt in Darwin about the validity of his theory had he known them then. But disbelief is suspended upon the promise of the great changes that could, or to some must, have taken place over immense periods of time, aided by the atheist's refusal of alternatives. Much less than infinite time, vast periods of time humans can barely conceive of, much less accurately measure and confirm to agree upon and prove today, attempt to fill in the gaps of faith and plausibility in the materialist ideology.
Complex things cannot arise from simple random events. In fact, even if you were to convert all the matter in our cosmos to monkeys with typewriters, 13.7 billion years is not enough time to produce even a 48-character space sentence. If all the matter in the cosmos, which is 10 to the 80th power, particles, were made into monkeys with typewriters, there would be 10 to the 53rd power monkeys with typewriters. If the typewriters had just 28 keys, that's 26 letter keys plus a space and a period key, the probability of any 48-character space sentence could be figured with a factor of 28. The sentence, "The first living cell is a problem for atheists," would have only one chance in 28 to the 48th power, or in base 10, 10 to the 69th power. If 48 characters were typed by each of the 10 to the 53rd power monkeys with typewriters per minute, all the monkeys with typewriters would type would be just 10 to the 13th power blocks of 48 character spaces in 13.7 billion years. 10 to the 13th power times 10 to the 53rd power is only 10 to the 66th power. You are still way short of 10 to the 69th power. You would have to increase your time to 13.7 trillion years, or increase your monkeys with typewriters to 10 to the 56th power to type the sentence by chance. But even if all the monkeys with typewriters could type a 48-character space sentence, it would only prove that every bit of matter in the cosmos would have to be used for the experiment. No scientist believes that the first living cell was a cooperative effort of all the matter in the cosmos. In fact, the distance between stars is so great and the age of the cosmos is so short that any cooperation between planets and stars is impossible. Even the ideas of stars and planets cooperating is the result of EDP. Because of our EDP, we simply cannot accept the revelation of the math which reveals the impossibility of complexity arising by chance.
Everything that will ever happen all begins here.
A new scientific elite establishment has supplanted powers once wielded with a heavy hand by the church and kings over society, humanity, the minds, hearts, souls, futures, and resources of mankind and the earth. Darwin's theory was built upon and depends upon the idea of the power of gradualism, slow, constant change over vast periods of time, from the simple to the complex, an endless descent with modification by means of natural selection.
In a millionth of 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 a second, it went from a size smaller than an atom to bigger than a galaxy. Whoosh!
Numerous advantageous mutations played upon the survival of the fittest in a brutal dog-eat-dog universe. This remarkable balance, all the result of a marvelous series of accidents, mutations, serving the role of the typing monkey, chaos with divine results they purport. But what really are the odds it all could have arisen and been so, without some higher design and direction at play?